Hitting go live on Facebook now. And you should be seeing Twitch coming up very quickly here. Hi everyone, if you're watching a recording, do fast forward about 4 minutes. We are just getting started and getting our technology together. What? No, I didn't disconnect. Let's take a look and see what's going on here. Okay. Facebook should be running. It's still trying to connect on Twitch as far as what I can see. Okay. Do you have sound? Okay. Hey Misty, check it out. Did you see your suggestion with the picture? I have a picture up. Okay, I'm playing with my Zoom here for a second just to see if I can get it there. Hello all. I'm good on both. I'm gonna start here in 3 minutes. I'm still sort of playing around. We have a new camera. I'm playing with a new camera. So. Hello Robin on Facebook. I see Cheryl. Let's see who I see through my mirror. Cheryl, Linda, Shar. Yes, happy anniversary. Thank you. So excited. I know, 50. Who knew? In more than one way. Now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, geez. So. I'm sorry? Oh, it's week 24. I have week 23 up there. Hold on. I gotta fix that. Let's see. Logo, image. Uh-oh. Title. Where's my title? Give me a second. I'm fixing this. It is week 24. Not you. Not you. Not you. Okay. Wow, why can't I find this? Oh, there it is. All the way at the top. Andy's telling me this is week 24, and it is indeed. So there it is. We're switched up. Week 24 it is. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start here in a minute. We're still finessing, playing with a new camera. So many exciting things today. Yay. Let's see, what else am I doing? Let's prep something else. One more thing up before I get started. So we're going to make a ring today. A little ring with a little gold accent because we're 50. And we're playing with a new camera. Oops. Okay, we're almost ready. We're going to start here. It's just about 1 o'clock. No, it's not 50th. It's 50. Andy's telling me that, Andy's telling me that I'm missing the T. I'm not missing the T. It's actually simply 50. Get it? Anyway, okay. I know. It's a play. It's a visual play on everything. All right. It's 1 o'clock. Let's get started. Okay. Hi everyone, it is Monday, August 31st. It is week 24, 6 months in, can you believe it? And this is project number 50. Wow. Who knew I was actually able to do that? You know, it's funny. I've talked about this a few times. You know, when you're on Facebook, you have all these people who do like 30 projects in 30 days or a project per week. And I see all this inspiration and how everybody works. And every time I see it, I go, wow, that's pretty cool. I should do something like that. And I never do it because it's like, I don't think I have it in me. Well, when push comes to shove, here we are. Okay, so Andy is telling me that Twitch stopped. Let me take a look. Okay. So anyway, so we're back on Twitch. But anyway, so here we are. When push comes to shove, I guess I am capable of doing these things. And anyway, so it's pretty exciting to celebrate. What's new? What's cool? I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope you can already see that there has been changes on the weekend. I have a new camera. That is a new camera we're looking at. Hopefully it's better. I have a new nail color. Don't love it. Actually, on camera, for me, it looks like Pepto-Bismol pink. That's going to have to change. Anyway, and thanks to a suggestion by one of our viewers, she suggested I put a picture up on the screen so that when she flips through all the videos of the past, she knows what it is. I didn't even know I could do this, and I did a little research over the weekend. It was a great suggestion, and I'm going to start adding the little picture so you know what video you're looking at, because, you know, if you think you can't keep up with the names, you think I can? Oh boy. Anyway, so, you know, keep the suggestions coming. I do like them, and it is the only way I'm going to improve, because remember, it's just me working here in this studio all by myself. I mean, yes, Andy helps here and there, but when it comes to the studio stuff, I'm all by myself. So the project today is, as stated, Simply 50. Why? Because it's, you know, it's our 50th, and we have 5 little rings. I'll show you. We have 5 rings on, and oh, get it? So that's Simply 50. So what will you need today? Let's go over it. You're going to need a bench block. A chasing hammer is sort of optional for this project. Definitely a leather mallet to make the ring mandrel, a forming wedge is always helpful too if you have one of those. A multi-looping plier will be your friend today to make the little rings. Ultra flush cutters, Lindstroms are always great because we hate filing, but then probably need to do a little bit of filing too, so a needle file will also be helpful. As always, the projects are based on my book, Minimal Metal Jewelry. So if you don't have a copy, you still can at theurbanbeater.com. All of these tools, by the way, are listed on the Facebook description page and are available at The Urban Beater. So, the materials you're going to need is 16 gauge wire. For the ring, you really do want to stick with sterling silver and not fine silver because it's too soft. You can definitely use copper or brass if you want for the base ring. Or as we're doing the golden anniversary here, you can definitely use gold-filled wire or gold wire. But at $2,000 an ounce, I don't know how many of you are jumping in. I definitely am not. I'm going to wing it with what I have. So, and then for the jump rings, I used, for this one, the sample, let's be honest, I used 16 gauge brass wire, but I am going to definitely do 16 gauge gold-filled wire today so you guys can see what I'm doing today. Okay, so there's that. So very simple, just a 16 gauge wire in any color you want. So pretty straightforward. All right, so the thing is, I don't have 16 gauge gold-filled wire, so what I decided to do was I decided to take a piece of 20 gauge gold-filled wire. I twisted it, and it's pretty much 16 gauge wire. So that's how I did that. Let me show you how to do that first. We'll do a little wire twisting and get ourselves there. So I'll take out some copper and show you how to twist wire very easily. Okay. So for this project, you don't need all that much. So we'll go with 6 inches of wire. We'll bend it in half. We'll give us 3 inches, which is more than enough. Actually, that's just a sample here. So we'll bend it in half like so. Bring it down really nice and tight. And to twist it, I'm going to put it into the flex shaft because that's the easiest way to go about this. Okie dokie. And I'm just going to clamp it inside of the flex shaft. If you have a wire twister, of course you can use that, or you can use 2 pairs of pliers and do it by hand, 2 hands, right? It is not square wire that the question is, did I twist square wire? No, I didn't twist square wire. That's actually, again, 20 gauge gold filled wire, okay? So here I have it clamped down really nice and tight inside of my flex shaft. Oh, if you have a drill, you can use a drill too. All right, and then I'm just going to grab my round nose pliers and I'll stick it right in here and twist it, just like that. Nice tight twist. See, you can see that, okay? All right, let's take that out. So that's what I did before we started. I did that with the gold filled wire. Okay. So we'll take that out and we'll make some jump rings. So take out your multi-looping plier and we'll use the second largest size. I'm sorry, second smallest. Second smallest? Second smallest, yeah. So we just put it in and start bending. I'm just going to make 3 rings today. You can make 5, you can make 2, you can make 1. Whatever warms your heart is what we're going to do. And so I'm going to bend it around like so and trim it. Using my flush cutters, therefore I don't have to file as much. And yes, I save all these scraps. It's gold filled. I don't know. I feel like I need to save it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but one day there might be enough to alloy it with something. We just cut it straight across, like so. So you want to make sure that this twist is nice and tight, okay? And I'll show you the difference here in a second. Okay. So here, I had made some yesterday and decided that it wasn't quite tight enough. So I tightened it up, and this one's a little bit looser of a twist. I think it works better when you make a tight twist, okay? So now, because I have a burr on one side of the wire, I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. You can file it off too, but I find trimming to be a lot easier. I will be doing a little bit of filing when I'm done trimming, but I'm taking off that burr. Okay, this one doesn't have one. It'll make it easier for soldering, and it'll make a much better ring, okay? There you go. Okie dokie. Set that aside. Set my rings aside. And let's make some rings. So for the ring, what you do need to notate is that by putting in the little jump rings, it's going to decrease the size of your ring. So you have to make it larger than what you need. So what I'm going to do, I need a 6.5. So I'm actually going to start at 6.5. And I'm just going to bend my wire around, and I'm going to make 2. So I'm going to go twice while I'm here. And then I'm going to push it down. So I started at about 6.5, and I'm going to go down to an 8. You see? And although I started small, it was already up to size because the wire is so springy. So I'm going to go right there to that 8 and take out my flush cutters and trim that. If you prefer, you can mark it and then cut it. It's up to you. Okay. Trim it. And then we'll do it again. And trim that. Okay, so we have 2 rings, supposedly. Where did the other one go? Wow. Oh, it rolled away. Okay, so here we are. And I'll trim it again because my cut wasn't great, but I did give myself a little bit to work with. we go. And make sure that the ends are nice. If they're not, pull out your needle file and let's file it. Just a little bit of a file there. And then on the other side. Okay, and we'll do the same for the other ring. Actually, yeah, we'll do the same for the other ring. Because I have a little tiny burr on one side, that's why I'm trimming it off to make it more flush instead of sitting here and filing it. And file it flat. So we're just prepping it for soldering, right? But before I solder it, I'm going to check for size. A little too big. I'm actually down at 8.5, so I'm going to trim that down just a little bit. Let's see what I need. So I bypassed it so I could see what was going on. And yeah, it's actually a really tiny amount that I have to take off. This is not even, this is maybe a 1/16 in here, okay? Let's take a look again. So you want to keep measuring. Remember, measure twice, cut once type thing. But you definitely don't want to make this too small. Here we are. Okay, perfect. So that's my size. I'm going to work this like a jump ring to bring it together. And you want that to be together just perfectly. Okay, check the other one. There we go. Feeling a little big. Okay, yeah, actually it's good. Okay, so if you see, I have a flat edge there, right? No problem. Pull out your chain nose and just put your joint right in between and squeeze down, just like that, okay? And then we'll move it together. There we go. Because we're going to reshape this afterwards anyway, after we solder. So we'll solder this together. And we'll use hard solder. All right. Set this aside. Let's solder. Oops, wait. I cleaned up my bench this weekend because I built a boom. Yes, a camera boom. So this is all sort of new, and I'm sort of playing around with this a little bit here. Sorry, little adjustment. Small adjustment period. Okay. So take out a little hard solder and put it right on the joint. Okay, make sure that the joint's nice though, nice and even. Do you put it on the inside or on the outside? Well, everybody's going to say something different, and frankly, it doesn't matter here, but it's pretty argumentative. Some people say you put the solder on the inside because then you don't see it on the outside, and other people would tell you put it on the outside because it's easier to clean up from the outside than it is the inside, right? All right, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and heat the whole ring and solder that joint. Butane torch, heat all the way around. It's silver, so you have to heat everything. And then you hit that joint right there, like so. Watch the solder flow. And then it's done. Nice, beautiful. Okay. Quench it. Make sure you dry it off before you put on the mandrel because you really don't want to get your mandrel rusty. You don't want it to get because they're steel, you don't want to get it wet, right? Put it back in, check and make sure that it's nice and round. If it's not, adjust as needed, like so. And do the other one. Okay. So if you were sloppy with your joint, do clean it up with some sandpaper. So take out some sandpaper. 400 is a good number, and just sand it. Sand that joint, clean up all the solder. I'm going to throw one in the pickle while I'm doing this one. And make that joint really nice. You'll get it to disappear. If you soldered this well and the joint was together, it will disappear, which is great, right? It's all about making it look professional. Okay, there we are. You see? So the joint's getting there. It's really getting nice. So you'll just do that till you're happy. It could take an hour. Depends on how bad you did it. Or it could be really quick. All right, I'll throw this in the pickle and grab the other one while I drop the mandrel on my foot. Oops. Okay. So here's the other one. You can barely see the joint, which is great. I'll just clean it up just a little bit here too. Just to make it nice. All right, so the next step is optional, but it gives it a nice little look. Okay, just so something a little bit different, and it allows the rings, because they're sitting side by side, it allows the rings to sit a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to flatten it with my chasing hammer. Just gently, just a little tiny bit, just to take that curve off. I'm not trying to flatten it to reduce the size per se, but just to take that little round edge off. So you see how I'm just sort of stroking it? I'm not killing it, right? Just really nice. Like so. It just has a slight flat edge, okay? Okay, so that's one. Let's go grab the other one. And we'll do the same thing. So if you have any questions, do throw them out. Andy is my producer today, and he is taking all the questions. He's liking your posts because, of course, I'm looking down and I'm working. So wherever you're watching from, do say hi. Let us know that you're watching so we don't think you're invisible. So there you go. You have two rings, same size, okay? So now you'll take out your gold rings. I'm not, so the question is, am I hammering with a flare? No, I'm not hammering with a flare. At least I don't think. I think that's the question. I'm not trying to flare. I'm just sort of taking the edge off just a little bit. Okay? The rounded edge of the wire. Okay, so here I'm just going to work the jump rings together. So again, we're using 16 gauge wire. So if you have, if you don't have 16 gauge wire and you want to make this twist, I made it with 20 gauge wire twisted, okay? So there's that one. Yes, so the question is, can you solder the rings together? Yes, you can solder the rings together. If you're soldering the rings together, and I'm assuming you're speaking the base ring, okay, then I would use medium solder and solder them together at this point, okay? And it's a slightly different look, okay? So here, I got the joints together, and I'm just gonna gently hammer these two, just to slightly flatten it out so that it sits a little nicer together. And actually, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, oh, you know, what'd be really cool is to do the 3 twisted wire, and I'm going to put a plain jump ring in between. Why not? So I will do the same here. So the question is, don't I need to put the rings on the silver ring first? No, you can do this in one of 2 ways. And actually, I'll come back to that question here. I'm going to do this one real quick first. And so how do you know which solder to use and when? So when you're soldering, your first step is always the hardest solder. And the next one will be the next level down. So you'll start with hard, and then you'll go to medium, and then you'll go to easy. Why is the question? So that you don't blow open the previous joint, because you're reducing at every step of solder, you're reducing the melting temp. Okay, so that's why we always start with hard. Okay, there we go. Gently flatten that too. I actually don't like this ring. I'm gonna go for a different one because it wasn't perfect. No, not anal retentive much. There's that one. Cool. I just like the look of the flattened ring just for something different. You don't even have to flatten it if you want. It just sits a little bit differently when you have it on. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the rings on now. Okay. So the question was, shouldn't you put the rings on first? Well, first of all, I wanted to hammer it, or shouldn't you solder these rings first? You could. It's 2 ways of going about this. So you could have soldered the gold rings first, slipped the silver rings on, and then solder the silver rings. Those are options. What happened when I did that the first time was it was really hard for me to reshape my base ring. And it's because you have an obstruction. So let's say this ring was torqued, right? Or was misshapen when you were doing that. Well, you'll have to put this back onto a ring mandrel, which is on the floor. So you have to put this on the ring mandrel, as you can see, and we're going to shape it. But if I shape it now, you see, the ring's going to be oval. It's really hard to do to get that ring back round when you have an obstruction like this. But it would be easier if you had a, now I think about it, if you had a ring mandrel with a groove in it. Hold on, let me go get one. Okay. Who knew? I don't have a ring mandrel with a groove in it anymore. I guess I destashed it. But if you had a ring mandrel with a groove in it, I suppose you could seat the rings in the groove, and therefore it won't be this oval shape. But I will tell you though, that groove is definitely not going to be wide enough for all 5 rings. Anyway, so the point is, it depends on how you do your work, okay? And how, and you know, it's one of those technical balancing. So you're using your left hand or your right hand, that kind of thing. It's up to you and how that works in your head. Okay, so then the next question was, what, Andy, about? So the question is, what solder do you use with gold-filled rings? I'm just about to get there. Actually, you use gold-filled solder. There is such an animal. And today I will pull it out and I'll show you. Actually, I don't even have gold-filled solder anymore. I have gold solder. So you can use gold solder, or you can, they have, and it is something that has started in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so. And they do have gold-filled solder at this point. So, because it's a little bit less expensive. But I'll talk about that in just a second here. So what I'm doing is I'm opening and closing those jump rings, and looping it onto my ring. My rings, actually. So we're just going to open these. Oops. So remember, the reason why I twisted my wire was because I didn't have 16 gauge gold filled wire. So when I twisted my 20 gauge, it became about 16 gauge, and I decided it gave me a slightly better look. The plain rings that I do have are actually brass, okay? So we'll open this up. Again, I closed them so that I could flatten them gently. And here, I'm going to loop them on. There we go. So let me know what you think about this new camera and the new camera position. I think it's okay. So we're forever trying to refine what we do here and get better. It's funny, I had some people go back and watch the old videos and we're mentioning how far we've come. Oh my gosh. Nothing like jumping in the deep end, right? Okay. So I'm putting all my rings on, and then I'm going to solder them one at a time. Just like that. And always ensuring that it's nice. It's a nice connection, okay? So here, gold, I actually like solder paste. I think most of you have figured that out. This is actually gold, 14 karat gold solder paste, right? Yep, 14 karat gold solder paste. And believe it or not, this is one penny ounce, right? So it's just a tiny little bit compared to what we usually have is, let's see, do I have one? So this is what this silver is, okay? So this is what how big it is to the silver. This I bought 10 years ago is $50. This is why we use it sparingly. I'm sorry, Andy, what did you say? So the question is, can you twist 16 gauge wire instead of 20? If you do 16 gauge wire twice, it's going to get really heavy. I think you're going to end up at about a 12 gauge, if not a 10 gauge wire. We can do it when we're done, but yes, you can twist it. Do you want to use it for this project? Probably not, okay? So if you don't have gold or gold-filled wire, you can go ahead and use, I would use easy silver solder, okay? I would use the softest that I can get, especially if you're doing gold-filled, because gold-filled, you don't want to overheat, because if you overheat gold-filled, what happens is the layer of gold on the outside and the base metal will then alloy, and now you have a completely different metal. You no longer have gold filled, you have an alloyed metal. So you want to use a really easy solder on that. But I've done it before. Let's see, hold on. There was something here. Oh, yep. So here's a class that I had earlier, and we went ahead, this is a gold filled rim on it, and we went ahead and used easy solder, silver. And it works just fine. Just want to make sure that you keep it really nice and neat so that you don't have all this silver going all over your silver. Or all over your gold. Okay, so I'm being told that it's a little blurry on Facebook. It seems to be something that has been happening a lot with Facebook, so it might be also be your connection. So Facebook's sort of been screwing around with resolution lately. So here I have a little bit of gold solder, teeny weeny little bit. Hold on, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for you. Oops, too much. Still learning this new camera here. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put it right on that joint. And I have about a 2mm ball. I'm only going to take about half of it, using it incredibly sparingly. Oh, doesn't want to get off here, come off here. we go. Tiny little bit. And we're going to solder this jump ring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the torch. I'm going to hold it right there, right at the joint. And hold on a second. I'm pointing at a camera that's sitting here not being used. Okay, actually I'll point this way. Okay, here we go. Right at the blue tip, right at the top of the joint. Heat it until it solders. Boom, just like that. Actually, nope, didn't happen. I can see it on the other side. A little bit more. Like that. Okay. Pretty simple. Let's do it again. And I just noticed I did not put it on in the correct order, so we'll take it off. Okay, here we go. Oh, I did put it in the right order. It just worked its way back around. Oops. Okay. Okay. So I'm hearing comments that it's a little bit jerky on Facebook. I'm wondering if I'm wondering if the jerkiness that you're experiencing is the auto zoom, or sorry, autofocus. Okay, so again, I put a little bit of heat on there because it was wet, so it's just drying it off a little bit so that the solder can stick a little bit better. A little bit of gold solder on that, and let's solder that too. Just like so, until it flows. And we'll do it for the next one. So see, by doing it this way, I'm keeping the integrity of the ring shape. Okay, this one needs a little bit of help. Fix that. So you want to make sure what I'm fixing is that my joint is together perfectly. And this one isn't together really great, which means it's not going to solder for me. So I'm just fixing it like so. Okay. So I'm still hearing that there's video problems out there. We don't see it on our side like at all. So I'm going to have to go back and review these videos when I'm done here, but I don't have a really good answer right now. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to heat it again. Just a little bit of heat, because it was wet, and a little bit of solder left on my pin there. And remember, I only used about a 2mm ball on all three, okay? Right to the blue tip. I'm not moving anything around because it's gold, it doesn't need it. Heat it, and boom, done. You see how it turned black? No big deal, that's just oxidation, it'll come off. And because the other two are brass, I'm going to switch over to copper solder. So yes, brass gets copper solder. Why waste it on the brass? But if you're doing this in gold, because all the solder joints are separate, it doesn't matter, just use a one step, okay? And then a little bit of solder right there. And heat it right on the joint. until it flows nicely. Beautiful. I'm quenching on the side. Okay, next one. And again, I'm heating it because it's wet. Every time I quench it, it's wet. And my solder paste, it's not going to stick. So by heating it, I'm drying it off so that it allows the solder to stick, the solder paste. So when you're using solder paste, you do not need flux because the flux is already built into it, okay? So that's what's really nice about solder paste. If you haven't used it, you might want to give it a try. But frankly, solder paste is not for everyone. I've met people who hate it, and I met people who love it. I loved it until a few years ago, and I started branching out back. I started with chip in my career, and then I went to solder paste, and then a few years ago, I started going back to chip, but I only use it maybe 10% of the time. So it's very situational. All right, so there are my rings. I'll throw it into the pickle, clean up just a little bit, and I'll show you how to polish. Okay, make some space. So for polishing, I'm using Euroluster. It's a finishing polish. Okay, so I don't have to do several steps. I can just go right to it. And then I'm using a muslin wheel, which I have lost. All right, we'll go with this one. Right into the flex shaft. You can also sit here and polish by hand if you want to. But if you have a tool, why not use it, right? Okay, go right in there. So this is a muslin wheel. It's the same thing as a buffing wheel, except smaller, okay? In a traditional jewelry studio, you'll have these large buffing wheels, and frankly, I don't have the footprint for that, and this works just fine. You want to spin it and make sure it's nice and straight so you can see. All right. Let's see. Oops. Let's focus in just a little bit. And coming out of the pickle. Okay, so you can totally see the difference between the rings, right? You can see that these are definitely brass and the other ones are gold because of the copper oxide that comes up when you're doing brass. Okay, so I'll clean that off first with a brass brush. So the reason that copper turns brassy, because remember, copper is brass. It's mostly, brass is copper. It is mostly copper. It is a copper alloy, right? So it's copper and zinc. So what's happening is your copper is coming up to the surface, and that's all. You just need to take it off. But it's natural. Okay. Clean it off nicely. There we go. And then, let's see, take out your wood mandrel. Wood mandrels are great for polishing rings. It saves your hands from all this stuff, right? Take your muslin wheel out. Run it on your polish, just a little bit, like that, to embed a little bit of polish. And then we're going to buff it. You can already see it's polishing up. So you want to hit every surface that you can and get that really nice and polished up. So the polishing compound I'm using Euroluster. And again, you can find all these products on our website at the Urban Beater. Okay. There we go. And then, so I'm just working everything around, making sure I get everything. I'll do the inside too. You know, I know what someone out there is screaming right now, so I'm going to do it. You don't even have to say it. Look, I'm going to put on my gloves and save my nails that I just did last night. So you want to make sure that you hit all your surfaces best you can. And you know, if your silver is turning black, really, that's just residue and schmutz from the buffing wheel. So that gets washed off. If you have a steam cleaner, a jewelry steam cleaner, you can put it in there, or an ultrasonic cleaner, you can put it in there and that will come off. But for me, we're low tech here, so I'm just going to take this with a brush and Dawn liquid soap in the sink and get that done. And then, here we go. Now that I've hit everything, I'm going to go ahead and do the rings. Just to make sure it's just nice and brilliant. Right? We've taken the time to make this. Let's make it beautiful. You know, finishing is not a step that you should really skip, because what's the point? I'm just going to spin the rings around here. Okay. Lots of questions today. Thank you for that. Just keep throwing them out. There we go. And actually, this is much more shiny than the other one, I think. But the other one's also been sitting here for a little bit. Yep. So there's my ring. Oops. There's my ring. And let's see. So I think the twist brings a really nice effect to this. Okay, so remember, a couple things here to note. You need to size up approximately 1.5 sizes up. I went to an 8. I'm actually a 6.5, and look, it fits. It fits nicely. I discovered that the hard way, because this is the first one I made, and I made it at a 6.5, and there is no chance that baby's going on there, see? So remember, you have to size up, okay? Remember, when you're doing gold, you don't have to heat the entire thing. You just need to heat the joint. You don't have to use gold solder or gold filled solder. You can use silver. Just remember, keep it really nice and neat so that you don't have silver all over your gold, because it's going to take a lot more effort to take that off. So you just want to make sure that you keep your work really neat. The reason why I used the twisted wire again is because I didn't have 16 gauge gold filled wire, and I wanted to do it with gold today because it is our 50th. And so I used 20 gauge gold filled wire, and I twisted that on my flex shaft to just make the twisted jump rings. Otherwise, if you do have the 16 gauge, you can do it plain if you prefer it plain. This one, yes, was done in brass, and that's what it looks like. Okay, hopefully that all makes sense for you. If it doesn't, it is in written form and instructions on and are available for download at our website. The link is up there on our Facebook page. If you're joining us on YouTube or on Twitch, do say hi. If you're on Facebook, do like us. Do us a favor and share our videos, because this is how we keep things going. And what's going on this week? Let's see. We have step-by-step luster part 2. We're going to make the pendant if you're following along. If you're new to this, step-by-step surprise are surprise projects on Wednesday. If you want to join the fun, we are doing step-by-step surprise cold cuts is coming up. Is it next week? 2 weeks? Something like that? Anyway, I just posted the September schedule is on our Facebook page and at theurbanbeater.com. So, and then Friday. Oh, Friday. Fun stuff on Friday. So I'm doing a Zoom along on Friday. Because we're not doing a real class, we're just going to do a Zoom. I'll be working on the bench doing some finishing stuff. If you have more questions, you can get me live and interact. The link has been posted on the Facebook Q Talk page. If you want to join us for the Zoom, you do have to register to do that. Again, the link is up on our Facebook page. And on Monday, it's Labor Day, and we're going to take the day off. I know, it's the first day of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday that we've taken off in 24 weeks. So, we decided why not. It's a good day, and I was a little behind last month anyway, and that's my excuse. Will I actually take the day off? No, depends on the weather. We'll see how it goes. Other than that, thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for being here, sharing our posts, and liking our stuff. And I say our because Andy's always here with me, playing along and working with me to make this happen. We really appreciate everybody being out there. So until Wednesday, have a great week. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day outside. All right. Any other questions, Andy? Okay.